I'm back. I don't know. It's probably the Wi-Fi out here. Who knows? We have our own Wi-Fi, so I hope you're joining. Anyways, I'm back. I don't know if you're there, but um, it could be the Wi-Fi. Who knows? But I'm back. Anyways, we are here because we are reading A Charming Crime, and we are reading chapter 6. And June and Oscar have decided to take Izzy up on her offer and move to Whispering Falls. So, shall we read? The next couple of days I'd spent cleaning the house to get ready for the new chapter in my life, in Mr. Prince Charming's life. All the crazy things that happened in Whispering Falls were still fresh in my mind. Several times I'd resisted jumping into the green machine, heading toward Mystic Lights. I didn't want to bring more attention to myself, so I knew I had to wait and fit in before I could show up and start asking questions. Sadly, my former life fit into 3 boxes. Darla was never one to keep any type of memories. She said that the best memories were the ones stored in your head and heart, not on paper or photographs. Though I wouldn't have minded a photograph or 2 of us, a crayon drawing from preschool, or even a report card that showed I was a straight A student, or something from our time in Whispering Falls. Anything. Before closing up the last box, which was mostly Darla's, I took out her collection of some incense and held a few of them under my nose. Those were certainly annoying when I was younger, but reminded me of Darla. My heart ached. I wonder how she would feel about me moving to Whispering Falls, or if she had never mentioned the town or why she had never mentioned the town to me. I put the incense back in the box and closed it. I let out a big sigh. 3 boxes. I felt for my lucky charm bracelet. That was definitely a memory I'd never forget. Oh no, I looked down when I didn't feel it. Panic filled my gut, instantly making me sick. It was gone. Oh no! Frantically, I pushed the 3 boxes along the floor to see if the bracelet had dropped between them while I was packing. Dropping to my knees, I crawled around the house looking for any signs of the bracelet. I had always planned to buy a real charm bracelet that fit, but Oscar was so proud that he'd given it to me, it was hard to make good on getting a real one. I tore into each box, dumping the contents all over the family room floor. Clothing, a pair of shoes, some knickknacks, incense, the cat toys, but no turtle charm or bracelet. Are you ready? Oscar hollered through the screen door. We had made a pact to leave Locust Grove together. I didn't answer him. I couldn't. In fact, I opened my mouth, but nothing came out but a god-awful cry. If I didn't know better, I thought my heart had stopped. I told you to pack your stuff and I'd be by this morning. Oscar shook his head in disbelief. I can't believe you haven't packed yet, June. What is wrong with you? Slumping down on the old couch, I buried my head in the cushion. There was no way I was going to be able to leave without finding my bracelet. There was a knot in my gut. My intuition told me that there was something wrong, definitely wrong. Don't tell me that you've changed your mind. Oscar sat down next to me. He didn't touch me, but for the first time, I needed comfort. At this point, I'd even let Mr. McGirdle comfort me. It's going to be good. You sold this house, furniture and all, and you will really get to work on your remedies. As if he knew what I needed, Mr. Prince Charming jumped up and dragged his tail under my nose, causing me to giggle from the tickle. Meow. His rough tongue licked the tear that ran down my cheek. In that moment, I knew everything was going to be okay. What's with him? Oscar said. He's letting me know that everything is going to be fine. I dangled my arm in the air. I lost my bracelet. I'm having nightmares, and Mr. Prince Charming has been getting out of the house at night. The past couple of nights, I've been waking up and finding him on the porch like he was keeping guard, which was nothing like him. I was sure I'd put him in bed with me, but my nightmares were getting more and more graphic. Same nightmare? His deep blue eyes dripped with worry. Drowning or something? Yeah, something like that. I really tried to see the face of the person who was being strangled under the water, but I'd wake up just as the body would turn. I'll leave a note for Mr. Primrose to tell the new owners to look for my bracelet. I put all my things back in the boxes and was ready to leave. I paused when we made it to the front porch, and I glanced over at Mr. McGirdle's place. I hadn't seen him since I told him I was leaving. He made it clear he wasn't happy when he said that he had promised Darla he'd watch over me and my leaving town wasn't Darla's plan. Plans changed. I shrugged him off and gave him what few details I had about Whispering Falls. He'd actually heard of it, though, through Darla, and seemed a bit taken aback when I told him that Darla had a shop there and I was going to take it over. Granted, she hadn't been there for years, but I was ready. Izzy, as Isadora liked to be called, had gotten me in touch with Bellatrix Von Loo, the owner of Bella's Baubles, the only jewelry store in Whispering Falls. She had a small house I could rent until I found something to fit my needs. On the way into the village, I motioned out of the green machine window for Oscar to go ahead. He was going to start his police duties today, and I was going to give Bella my first month's rent. Bella's Baubles was like any other store wasn't like any other store in Whispering Falls. A quiet cream cottage with a pink wood door that had adorned with different colored jewels. The sun hit each jewel just right, showing its brilliant colors. I got out of the El Camino. Before I could tell Mr. Prince Charming to stay put, he was already doing figure eights around my ankles. The store hours were painted on the sign and dangled from the stone casing. Morning to night. It was definitely morning. Come on, I told him, walked up to the store. The door was incredibly heavy, and I had to push with both hands. Once inside, there was a small entryway that led to two other doors. One of them had a mailbox on it, and the other had Bella's sign on it. Ding, ding, the bell above the door swinged back and forth. I'll be right with you, the voice came from a woman who was bent behind the glass counter. I could see her hand working in the case. She laid out pieces of jewelry by color. I just got some new charms in and wanted to get them out before the rush. Charms? Faintly, I remember the man in the top hat telling me about this place. I had no clue that my landlord was the owner. I hurried over to see her selection, hoping there was a turtle to replace the one I'd lost. Maybe I could get a real charm bracelet that fit. Your sign said the hours are morning to night. I assume you're open. I craned my neck to get a better view of the charm. She stood up and adjusted her skirt. No turban. Bella's round cheeks balled up through her grin, exposing a small gap between her two front teeth. Her long blonde hair framed her face that cascaded down her small frame. There was no way she was taller than 5'2". Get back here, I yelled for Mr. Prince Charming, who jumped down the clean glass counter and over to Bella's side. I reached over the counter to get him, but he was already out of my grasp. I'm so sorry. You must be June. Her smoky eyes twinkled with laughter. I've heard all about you, Mr. Prince Charming. Great. I bet the whole town heard about the new girl fighting with Anne. I chalked one up for the new girl, me. Completely embarrassed, I hid my face when I noticed Mr. Prince Charming had crawled inside the jewelry case. He must like the lights. There weren't any other explanation. He loved to sun himself. I'll get him. Before I got around the counter, he was already out and dropped something out of his mouth on the counter. It looks like he wants to give you a charm. Bella waved the silver charm in the air. A square Celtic knot. Good choice, Mr. Prince Charming. Meow, meow. He tiptoed around in circles, wagging his long white tail from side to side. I'm sorry. We have a strange relationship. I pulled the rent check out of my pocket. I had to get out of there before the darn cat destroyed the place. Here's your rent. Thank you so much. I'll be looking for a place soon. Don't worry about it. In fact, the cottage has the most beautiful view. Nothing else in Whispering Falls compares to it. Her finger worked on a piece of jewelry. Here you go. Welcome to Whispering Falls. She uncurled her hand. Between her thumb and her finger dangled a real charm bracelet with the Celtic knot attached. She shoved it towards me. He wants you to have it. Celtic knot protects you from evil spirits. Her eyes darkened as she moved it closer. Take it as a welcome gift. Evil spirits? What was it with this town and evil spirits? I can't. I wanted so bad, but my gut told me to take it. I can pay for it. No, she grabbed my wrist and clasped it on before I could object. It fits perfect. She was right. It wasn't like the other bracelet that I had to clasp on the different links in order for it to fit. I let it fall, showing how really well it fit. I told her about how Mr. Prince Charming had showed up on my 10th birthday with the turtle charm attached to his collar and how I'd lost it today. Fate, she smiled. That's something Darla would say, I laughed, but abruptly stopped when we heard a blood-curdling scream coming from outside. We ran out into the street along with everyone else in Whispering Falls to see what the ruckus was about. Constance and Patience was standing by the lake just beyond Adosta Darla, pointing to something. Patience had her face in a handkerchief, sobbing. It's Anne! Patience screamed. Chandra, Gerald, and Izzy ran to see what she was talking about. The sky darkened like the lid of an eye. I reached into my black bag and pulled out my cell phone. I called Oscar's cell phone. Something's going on. You better get over to my shop. Within seconds, Oscar stood next to Izzy, while the rest of us waited in the distance, wondering what they were looking at. Slowly, Bella and I made our way over towards them, as did the rest of the village. There were feet sticking out of the long brush that grew in the banks of the lake. We watched Oscar pull a body out. It was Anne. Quietly, we all waited to see what was going to happen. Oscar bent over her. Well, had she passed out? Was she sleeping? She wasn't responding to anything Oscar was doing. He stood up. He ran his hands through his dark hair. He turned to the crowd that had gathered behind him, me included. She's dead, he announced, but focused on me. It appears she has been strangled underwater. There was a collective gasp. I looked around at everyone's face. Shock and outbursts of cry filled the empty air. There is a killer among us, Gerald's voice echoed over Whispering Falls. It hung there like a thick fog. He and Izzy whispered a few words between them before he walked over to me. That's terrible. My nerves tingled thinking about a murder. I couldn't recall any murders in Locust Grove, and I remember Oscar telling me that there was zero crime here. We need to talk. He pulled my sleeve towards him. You need to come to the station. Constance and Patience ran up. Do we need to collect the body? Yes, collect the body, Patience repeated. Please, Oscar nodded. He pulled his notepad from the pocket of his uniform jacket and wrote some things down. I will need an autopsy as well. The twins didn't hesitate. They folded their arms in front of them and rushed back to two sisters in a funeral home to retrieve the items they needed to get Anne's body. They are coroners too? I asked Oscar. I shuddered to think of Patience repeating everything Constance said during a coroner's Y cut. In silence, I followed him down the street. The station was just a little beyond the shop and in walking distance. I glanced back toward the green machine where Mr. Prince Charming was cleaning himself on the roof of the El Camino. The police station was just a little more modern than the other buildings. The concrete building had big round windows that let in a lot of sunlight. No matter where you stood in the office, you could see all the way down Main Street on both sides. I guess this was good for Oscar to be able to keep an eye out. Everything is so new. I ran my hand along the gold nameplate with Oscar's little name engraved on it. The paper sitting on the copier hadn't been taken out of the packaging, and the little pen still had a perfect cap on it, no teeth mark. This is serious, June. A sudden chill hung in his words, making me stop to look at him. There's something you need to know about Anne. Well, if you ask me, I said, and plopped down in the chair with wheels and slid across the room with my feet in the air. She probably has pissed off a lot of people with her snide comments. She was rude. Not that I'd want her dead, but think about it. She treated me terrible, and I had just met the woman. I wonder how she treated people she really knew. Oscar cleared his throat. June. His stern voice was cold. I dragged my feet across the floor to stop the chair. I swung around in his direction. Why so serious? I smiled, hoping he'd lighten up, but I was sorely wrong. The bracelet that I thought I lost dangled in the air between Oscar's fingers. Where did you find it? Excited, I jumped to my feet and the chair flung behind me, hitting the wall, and I grabbed it out of his hand. Oh, Oscar took it back, but I held on to it. That was in Anne's grasp. I had to pry her fingers apart to get it. Like she had been struggling with someone and she grabbed it off of them. Now you have compromised the fingerprints. What? I tried to sort through his words. Anne's hands? I dropped the bracelet on the floor. I didn't want anything to do with it. How did Anne get it? Having touched something that was in a dead person's hand gave me the heebie-jeebies. Ooh, I rubbed my hands down my shirt. I was hoping you'd answer that for me. His voice faded, losing the steely edge. It was a tone I knew well. The way he spoke about other cases and suspects from Locust Grove was the same. Are you accusing me of something? I drew back and looked him square in the face. Because if you are, you better spit it out, Oscar Park. No, but isn't it evident that something is not right? You had words with her yesterday. She accused you of threatening her, and now she shows up dead with your bracelet that you lost in her cold, dead hand. Oscar marched back and forth, rubbing his chin, and stared out the window. Do you honestly think I killed Anne? I nervously laughed. If anyone knew me better than I knew myself, it was Oscar. There was no way he could think that I would harm a flea, much less Anne. Did he? Great. He stood up and leaned to the right to get a better view of the street. It looks like the members of the council are coming this way. Yep, my intuition told me this wasn't going to be good. I would give anything to have a ding-dong. Chapter 6. That was such a fun chapter. Killing somebody. Look at my hair. It's a hot mess express today. Killing somebody is always fun. So, what did you guys think of that? Hey, Jeannie, it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Glad you guys came back. So anyways, Jane, this one started because the other one kicked me off. So the other one's a story all in itself, and we can just call that the She Shed tour. But anyways, I got my Snuggie on. So thanks, Michelle, for being here. Fun fact, I love my Snuggie. I wear it backwards. Really, you're supposed to wear it the other way, where this is in the back, but I wear it like this. And so, oh, Ashley, I was just talking about you. Your little thing, my little thing you gave me is in here. So that's in here. My She Shed. I'm trying to think. There's a couple other things you gave me. I think they're in my office. Anyways, so I love my Snuggie. And fun fact is that every time I go out of town, it doesn't matter where it is. It could be my parents. It could be on a writing retreat. It can be at a conference. My Snuggie is the first thing that goes into my suitcase because I love it. I know. I love them. I love them. So anyways, guys, I forgot that June had lost her bracelet. Yes, Rose, I know. There are so many things that I forget. And the reason why I decided to read this one is because I'm going to write the next book in the series. It is up for pre-order. I think I told you guys I would put the link up. I forgot to do that. I'll do that tonight. But anyways, I'm so glad that y'all are with me. You guys have no idea how much fun this is. And just fun to connect with somebody online. I use the excuse of reading a book really just to go live and chit chat. But you guys honestly are the best. You are the best readers in the world and become great friends. So I will see you guys tomorrow night for chapter 7. Let's see how long it is. It depends on how long they are because sometimes they get short. So chapter 7 seems to be pretty short. Let's see how big chapter 8 is. Ooh, chapter 8's short too. So maybe we can read 2 chapters tomorrow night. So Kathy, I'm so glad that you're here. Oh, Jane said, Jeannie wears hers like this. Ashley, oh, thanks, Ashley. Tell everybody hello for me. I love Ashley and her family. Jane, oh yeah, I love big shirts too. Um, Thanks, Jeannie. I'm so glad it works for you guys. I'm so glad you're having fun, Kathy. Jane, your alarm is set. Oh, I'll remind y'all. This is by Rose said this is her social event for today. I take her dog for his walk earlier so we can come back in. Oh, you're a sweet little dog. Have a great night, Tammy. Bye, Jeannie. Good night, Linda. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks, Ashley, and I will see y'all tomorrow night. Bye. I don't know how to end it, but I'm trying.